Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest today is Dani Modisett, and we're going to be talking about laughing today. So y'all just, sit back and get ready for some chuckles because I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. So Dani, talk to us about it's okay to laugh.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me. First of all, let me just say that. So I've been a comedian most of my career, and my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's about 8 years ago, and I couldn't make her laugh, and she was depressed, and I really felt terrible about it. I felt guilty because I'd moved her to Los Angeles where I live. And I was at my dentist, and because it's LA, she's also like a life coach. And I said, I can't make my mother laugh. I don't know what to do. I feel terrible. I just wish I could hire a comedian to cheer her up. And she was like, oh, why don't you do that? That sounds like a great idea. So I did. I brought in a professional comedian, and she sat down with my mother and did it had all these instincts that we now use all the time, because I ended up starting a company that does this, because the reaction from my mother was immediate laughter. She looked her in the eyes. She told the truth. She really took her time. She didn't push anything. And she actually commented on the truth. So she said, I know you probably don't want to talk to me. You're probably thinking, who is this schmuck just talking to me? And there was something about this word schmuck and her New York accent that was familiar to my mother. And so she laughed. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want. That moment between two people. And so I ended up hiring the woman, and she came and met with my mother like 8 hours a week. And it really did change the quality of her life. So being able to laugh with someone and have someone whose attention was fully devoted to my mother, and who also had a great sense of humor and wasn't precious and wasn't looking at the disease through fear. I think that's one of the biggest challenges with Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, is that people are afraid, and they're afraid it's, contagious, or they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. It makes them uncomfortable. So they just either don't show up at all, or when they do, they're very busy trying to make nice, and really people in cognitive decline become more sensitive to the truth because their senses are so heightened. Their other senses become very heightened. So that's kind of a long answer to your question, but yes.
That's good. Yeah. So what made you want to be a comedian?
I think my instincts as a kid were always to try to make people laugh. Even we were living in New York City. We moved to Connecticut. Everyone was very not happy about that. And I was a kid, but I had puppets, and I used to play with puppets at the dinner table where everybody was depressed. And I would be like, hey, Dad's not happy. And, try to get laughs. It's my instinct. I really do approach pain by trying to break the tension with laughter. So I think it's in my gut. And then since you asked, I was a waitress, and I was getting people were laughing at it, as a waitress, and they were like, I don't understand why you're not a comedian. Why are you a waitress? So that's when I started studying comedy. And then, that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years.
So when you're thinking about, creating shared laughter,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of tools or tricks, are important, so no matter what the situation is, what are some good things that, that you found that really worked?
Oh, such a great question. And it's actually quite simple, right? I said already, make eye contact, get at eye level with a person. And also don't pretend things aren't happening, really to be present. That's the thing. Another tool. So we have listening and then being present. So maybe put your phone down, put your devices down, unless you're using your device as a memory, not a memory tool, but as a point of connection. So showing photographs, playing music, that's when the device is really helpful in cognitive decline. But otherwise, just put it down. I remember a moment when a friend of mine came to visit my mother, and which was very rare because a lot of people don't visit. So I was very grateful that she even visited. And but she immediately went to work, and my mother on her phone, and my mother turned to me and said, "She doesn't want to be here, and she's done with me." And I thought, okay, yes, that is really how we feel when somebody picks up the phone, right? But you don't say that because it's not polite. But it was a great indicator, of how sensitive people are. So I think being honest, being present, music is great. Any kind of, they're very, as the language declines, mirroring, they're very good at mirroring. So if you can have the courage to be silly and make a funny face, they will make the face back. And that's actually a point of connection. So those are just some things that I have discovered.
So do you think that your mother resonated with the comedian because she did the New York accent?
Oh, that's a funny question. No one's ever asked me that. I do think it had a familiar cadence to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that was comforting for her. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was the only thing. I think you could come in with a New York accent and be rude and dismissive and mean. But I think the combination of everything that I just mentioned with the familiar accent, I mean, even me, when I hear a New York accent, I'm from New York City, so I feel a kinship with that person. And then, of course, they reveal their character, and I may or may not respond to them. But I mean, you have a strong accent in Texas, so I'm sure you appreciate it.
Well, I like to think no, but I'm like, wait, do I really sound Texan?
Well, not me personally, but the
words that So yeah, I've worked hard over the years, just to really try not to really have much of an accent, but it comes out a lot of times when you least expect it. And so yeah, but I just when you said that, and I just triggered, I thought, I wonder if that made a difference. And so let's talk about we're gonna get personal here. So what situation that seemed hopeless that got you through laughter?
Oh my goodness, so many, frankly. Let's see. So this is interesting. I wasn't planning to talk about this, but I kind of struggled with eating disorder behavior in my 20s, that late teens, 20s. And so I created a show called Too Thin, TWO Thin, and it was two comedians talking about anorexia and bulimia. I know, a wellspring of funny, but we went on the road, and we went to like 100 colleges, and it really not only helped me and my other comedians, because comedians tend to have addictive personalities. So it manifests one way or another. It's eating, alcohol, whatever, and so it gave comedians work, and also reached all these sororities. We were very, very busy, and just being able to have a sense of humor about something, because a sense of humor gives you hope. It's when we think it's hopeless that we can't laugh about it. But if someone can get to the other side of something and present it with a sense of humor, it gives people who are stuck hope. And so that was a big one. I would say my father's death. My father died of cancer. It can be this. I've had a lot of experiences. And that I also did a show about, grief and moving through the other side, and a parent dying and all that. And it was very funny. I had puppets, and so I kind of I go through everything that way. That's my lens.
So what is most important about laughing with another person?
Definitely the connection that you have in that moment. It's the Victor Borja, this old timey comic, said it's the shortest distance between two people. And I really think that's why I'm so committed to it. And I wrote a book about laughter and long-term relationships called Take My Spouse, Please. And what was interesting, and that was another really difficult experience that I used humor to get through. We were at the 10-year mark of our marriage, and it was I'm not good at anniversaries, and this was a particularly bad one. And I realized, I loved couples who were laughing. Like, if you had like gray hair, holding hands and laughing, I was like, that's what I want. And so I set out to like interview hundreds of couples and religious leaders and all kinds of different therapists and leaders to confirm my suspicion that couples who laugh together stay together. And what was interesting in doing the research for that book, what I discovered is the laughter is actually the byproduct of all these other things that have to be in place, right? Like listening and showing up, letting go of the moment before, paying attention to timing, surrounding yourself with other like-minded people. So you create an environment where freedom and laughter and joy can exist by actually utilizing all these other behaviors, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And so, all right, so let's talk about laughter on call. How many comedians do you keep a whole bunch of comedians? Is there a certain area? Are you just in California or just in the Los Angeles area? Talk to me about your business.
Oh, so great. We have about 50 comedians in rotation. And we have transitioned to being primarily a virtual company at this point. So we are all over the world. And we started in Los Angeles when we were in person. And then in COVID, of course, we were not able to get to our clientele. So we started live streaming comedy, just like this, only people could come on. And what we noticed is it wasn't just people in cognitive decline that were showing up. It was like perfectly lucid people who felt isolated and anxious in the pandemic. And so from there, I developed all these other programs, like specific curriculum that are great for corporate teams, for healthcare workers. And the one advantage of COVID in the aftermath is that a lot of companies are hybrid now. And a lot of companies this is how they bring their people. They've discovered that they can bring the engineers from India and the designers from Italy and the 3 people in Wisconsin, because every company seems to have people in Wisconsin. And we bring everybody together, and then they're able to have an experience they would have never had. So we go everywhere. We still do a lot of senior work. We've been able to work one-on-one. As long as there's somebody there to turn on the Zoom for the person, it actually does work. We've had a number of clients, and we do a lot of interactive improv with groups on Zoom. I mean, we will go in person. And I think as we all come out of this, they just took off the masks here in LA today. So as we emerge from this, we will be doing more in person.
Yeah. And so I found that through COVID, that my mindset was so crucial. So, watching the news, I still watch my old funny sitcoms, because you just want to laugh. You want uplifting things.
Sure.
I can appreciate how enjoyable it is. And, and I probably would be one of those ones, not necessarily home by myself, because that's never been the case, but really sitting back. I love comedians, just sitting back and, watching, just laughing, because it makes you feel good.
Yeah, I mean, there's the science behind it, right? There's the endorphin release and serotonin uptick. But yes, and I will say, interaction is what we are gifted at. You can watch cat videos and that's totally funny. But with us, it's like you're actually being engaged. And that is something that we learned in the Alzheimer's world, is the importance of engagement. And it turns out it's not just an Alzheimer's need. It's human beings want to be engaged, and they thrive being engaged and feeling seen and heard and participating. And so that's what Laughter on Call does best.
Awesome. So how does somebody find you if they want to participate?
Laughteroncall.com. And I'm Dani at laughteroncall.com, DANI. And we're Laughter on Call on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. We're just Laughter on Call everywhere.
Perfect.
We're literally on call. So
there you go. And so thanks so much for being on the show today. I appreciate it immensely. And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.